Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. There is a subtle but massive difference between financial independence and financial freedom. And if you focus on the wrong one first, it could cost you years off your investing journey. I had made it to 40 without ever having $1,000 in the bank, and at that time I was only making $17 an hour. As a single parent with 3 kids, starting from a position of $89,000 in bad debt in my name that I didn't know about until the divorce, I was able to reach bad debt free and make work optional in 8 years because I focused on the right one first. And my goal in this video is to help you understand the very subtle but massive difference between the two words so that you know which one to focus on. In the FIRE community, financial independence, retire early, the words financial independence and financial freedom are kind of used interchangeably. And some people understand the difference, many don't. I'm not even sure I understood the real significant difference between the two terms until I was doing the research for this video. And when I shared this concept with some friends, the ones who are not involved in the FIRE community and don't have a financial mindset really didn't understand what I was saying. But here's something to remember. Anytime you're talking about finances, know your audience, because nobody can hear a word you're saying until they're ready. When I tried to share the topic of this video with some friends who are involved in the FIRE community, one of them actually said his mind was blown. And that's my goal here today, to share a very subtle difference between the two words of independence and freedom that helps you save years on your path to wealth. The easier one to understand is financial independence, because the definition is mostly based on math. One of the main reasons why I wanted to reach financial freedom or financial independence was because I was tired of my sources of income being taken away due to things outside of my control. After Desert Storm, the Marine Corps downsized. In 2008, I was laid off from a police department because when there's a recession going on, police departments don't have any money coming in, so they shrink. It's like people say, there's no more crime anymore, so we don't need cops. The other day I was talking with a friend, and I said something in the conversation, and he looked at me and said, "That would be a great quote for one of your videos." So Greg, here you go. I think one of the riskiest things a person can do for their family is have only one source of income, especially when that source of income relies on you selling your life 1 hour at a time. What are you going to do when nobody's buying? When you have income streams other than your job that are greater than your living expenses, you are financially independent. This means you no longer have to sell your life to support your current lifestyle. Some do this by starting a business and growing it with the goal of growing it to the point where someone else can run the day-to-day. Some invest in stocks and grow a portfolio with dividends or use the 4% rule. The idea being, once you have 25 times your living expenses invested, you can withdraw 4%, and the yield is still enough to cover taxes and inflation for you to do this without touching the principal. Or, if you're super lazy like me, there is cash flowing rental properties. I also included house hacking, which is a form of reducing and then eliminating your housing expenses, which for most of us is our largest expense. That helped me add the largest amount to my savings rate that I could. Whichever way you choose to pursue financial freedom or financial independence, it's important that you choose the one that you're excited about. We're more likely to stick to a plan we're emotionally invested in. And for me, that was house hacking and buy and hold rental properties. It took me 8 years, so there really isn't a get rich quick or do this overnight way, but with a plan and some discipline, for the average person, financial freedom and financial independence can happen in less than 10 years. Avoiding life creep is key though. As you grow your streams of income, don't add to your cost of living, at least for the first 5 years or so. This should be the goal that we work on in the beginning. Work to increase your income, spend less than you make, and invest the difference. These income streams will be the ones that allow us to make work optional. Explaining financial freedom is a little harder than financial independence because it's not based on math. It's based on mindset. While I've reached financial independence, I'm still working on financial freedom. My rental profit is about 4 times what my living expenses are, but I'm still not quite there yet mentally to financial freedom. An example of this mindset comes from a commercial I saw years ago about a lottery winner standing in a cheese aisle in a store thinking, I could totally afford all this cheese. The beginning stages of financial freedom started to happen to me when I was standing in a cheese aisle in a store, and I remembered this commercial. I didn't think, I can afford all this cheese, But I did think, if I bought all of this cheese and it was at my house, what cheese would I eat? My decision was based on desire, not on which cheese had the best price. Financial freedom is when we can make decisions based on what we want instead of what we can afford. One of the first things we learn when we read books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad is the difference between an asset and a liability. Something hopefully we learn later in life is that it is okay to have liabilities, but whenever possible, have an asset pay for them. Financial freedom lets us choose based on desire. What do you want? Go get it. If we do this early on, it's going to make it really hard to acquire those assets that work towards financial independence. The reason I'm trying to explain this concept is so that we know to focus on investing to reach financial independence. As we grow the income snowball, then we can work on financial freedom. I've been on a few podcasts, and every now and then I get stumped. Usually towards the end of an interview, one of the questions is, what's next for you? Kind of like when you're at a job interview and they say, what do you see yourself doing in 5 years? I can let you know that the right answer is not celebrating the 5-year anniversary of this question. I didn't really have an answer. I think the closest I came to an articulate thought was when I said, I'm probably just going to keep doing what I'm doing because it's too easy to stop. But now that I made this video and I took the time to put my thoughts in order, I have a better, or at least more accurate, answer. I reached financial independence in order to make work optional. My goal now is to reach financial freedom so that I don't have to think of the cost of liabilities. And someday, I may spend money without thinking about the cost. But not today. What I want for now is for that to be an option. A person I know once told me they don't want to make a lot of money because they don't want to have to always think about money. I didn't want to argue. Never argue with a fool. At a distance, people can't tell who's who. But I did point out that people who haven't put a lot of thought into their finances have to think about money a lot more than I do. I pointed out when a person like that fills their gas tank, they have to think about how much gas they can put in because they still need to have money left over for things like food and heat and rent. And when I put gas in my tank, I just fill it. When I had a small income and wasn't financially independent, I was a single parent with 3 kids, and when we would go to a restaurant, I would have to look at the menu, pick an appetizer, and only drink water, so that my kids wouldn't realize that we didn't actually have the money to be there. One of the first stages of financial freedom happens when you go to a restaurant and you look at the menu and you actually just think, what do I feel like having? Financial independence makes financial freedom possible. But spending like we're financially free before we actually are can stop you from becoming either. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Well, that went well. Oh, I totally agree. I think this is a great video. People are going to get a lot out of it. I wonder if they realize we film these on different days. Which reminds me, on Tuesday, your ex is going to call? Don't answer the phone. Wait, which ex? Come back.